So over the last 3.5 years that I've been improving my communication skills, there have been six very big bad habits, things which were really slowing down my progress, which I noticed and fixed throughout the year. So in this video, I'm going to tell you six of the most important ones, which once you're able to iron out, your progress will genuinely skyrocket. The first thing is having a bad mindset. What I mean right by this is literally step zero if you want to improve not just in your social skills, but in any other area of life. Your mindset has got to be of the growth kind. What I mean is you need to have a growth mindset. What this means is if you have a set mindset where you believe that you cannot improve, in this case, that would be like believing that you are an introvert for life, that you cannot improve, then guess what? You're never going to improve. The first thing you need to fix, the first like step zero's foundation is to realize that life, social skills, and any other skill in life is like playing a video game. And all you have to do is just practice it enough times and you will improve at it just like you can improve at a video game, at a sport, or an instrument, or any other area of life in that similar kind of whole area, right? If you want to learn more about this, I speak a lot more in depth about it in my course, which you can check out first link in the description. Now, mistake number two that I made was spending a lot of time, a big part of these last 3.5 years, not going out of the house very often. Your primary goal, kind of the standard that you should always be striving for when you're in this kind of period where you're trying to improve your communication skills, is to try to leave the house at least once a day. So on a daily basis, try to go out, whether it's to town, whether it's just out on the street for a walk. Try to always leave your house and have some sort of interaction with strangers, or at least put yourself in a situation where you could, if you wanted to, speak to strangers and interact with strangers and speak to girls and just be social. Mistake number three is something that also kind of has to do with mindset, but also it's mostly practical. It is only spending your time studying and learning about this topic, but never actually going and taking action. If mindset is step zero, then this is like step 0.5. Right after this, right after getting the mindset right, you need to get kind of the action habit in your mind as well. A lot of people, what they do is they spend a ton of time reading books, watching podcasts, watching YouTube videos, getting coaching, learning all of this information, but they never end up going and actually using the things that they learned. They just keep kind of batching this information in their mind, getting more and more knowledgeable, feeling productive because of it. Sure, you are learning things, but the fact that you're not going and talking to any people and putting any of that in action kind of just makes it wasted information. Kind of like the information you learn in school, like when you're in history class or geography or biology, you're learning about some shit you're never going to use in your life. You're essentially doing the same thing here. Not only does it make the information kind of useless, it also makes it a lot harder to learn because just like in school, the fact or learning information that you can't really put in practice and that you can't really engrave in your mind through conscious practice and action, it makes it 10 times harder to memorize and to learn. Mistake number four is not using the information you learned when you do go out and take action. This one ties in perfectly to the last one. What I mean by this is that if you've kind of ironed out the last mistake and you started actually taking action, your next mistake would be to just be taking mindless action. This is still better than no action, of course, but at this point, once you already mastered this and you got used to taking action, what you want to do is you want to not just mindlessly go and speak to people, but you want to actually consciously use the information which you learned from books and any other sources and actually use it in practice. So how that would look is if you've read a book and in the book it says, let's say, smile when you're talking to people, you go out tomorrow or whenever and you consciously remember and say to yourself, this time when I speak to this person, I am going to smile. I'm going to use the information that I've learned in the book or the podcast or whatever. If learning a lot of information, right, and never actually going and putting it into practice, you can imagine kind of like going to the gas station, filling your car up fully with gasoline, spending a lot of time getting the money to fill it up, filling it up fully just to never drive it, just to never take it out of the garage. That is the mindset I want you to have when you learn things. It's not just about learning them, and it's not just about taking action, but it's about combining these two and taking action on the things which you have learned. Mistake number 5 is one which also goes deeper than just communication skills, but in every area of life if you truly want to improve, and that is avoiding discomfort. In life, generally, any growth, any learning, any improvement happens when you're outside of your comfort zone. What this means is that as long as you are doing things which are easy to you, which are comfortable, which are kind of fun, you're not going to be seeing any progress, any improvement, or any such benefits in your life. In social skills, how this translates would be basically think about the place where you're most comfortable. Probably in your room. A room similar to mine, where it's like kind of tinted, it's dark, you're in your bed, you're completely alone. You're very comfortable. But guess what? No improvement happens here. Improvement in your communication skills happens when you go out into the street and you see some people and you genuinely feel anxiety and stress, but you still walk up to them and you start a conversation and you use the things which you learned. That is how true progress in your communication skills is made, by chasing discomfort. A good rule of thumb, if you really want to take your communication skills to the next level a lot quicker, is ask yourself just what situation, right? You have two paths to choose. Which one of the paths is more uncomfortable? And generally, that path which is of more resistance and of less comfort, is the one which will give you way more progress way quicker. I can also tell you from experience that chasing discomfort, and especially uncomfortable situations in this kind of social area, has genuinely helped me improve my communication skills probably quicker than anything else. Going and speaking to people, but not just speaking to anyone, but choosing the exact group of people where it's the most stressful, where it's most anxiety. Maybe it's a group of attractive girls, or maybe it's like a group of a ton of strangers. Choosing the path of most resistance and least comfort was the one which eventually ended up getting me the most results the quickest. And now, mistake number 6, and the final one for the video, is not progressively overloading. What I mean by this is that a lot of people, when they start improving their communication skills, generally cannot speak to any strangers. You try speaking to a stranger and your brain just blocks off, right? It goes blank and you cannot think of anything to say. And the problem with these people is that they will read books or watch videos like this, hype themselves up, think tomorrow I'm gonna go out, approach the most beautiful girl on the street, or I'm gonna approach a group of like 20 people and I'm gonna speak to all of them. I'm gonna be super social and I'll build up my social life. And then what ends up happening is they go out into the street and they never muster up the courage to go and do any of these actions because of the fact that these things are way too high of a level for them. There's still a lower level in the whole communication skills area. That's like if you went to the gym for the first time and you say, I'm gonna bench press 100 kg, 2 plates. You're too weak, you're so weak you could barely bench just the empty bar, and you're over here trying to bench 2 plates. You cannot start with that. You need to progressively overload. You start with the weight that you can manage, and then you overload it over time as you get stronger. In communication skills, that would be you start with what you can manage. Maybe tomorrow you could just barely manage to say hello to one random person on the street. So you go and you do that. The day after that, maybe you say hello to 2 people on the street. A week after that, maybe you go and you actually start a conversation with a random person like a bus stop. You ask them, how's your day going? A month from there, maybe you can actually cold approach a girl and ask for her number. Another month from that, maybe you can approach a group of people and start a conversation with them. Another month after that, maybe you can approach a group of really attractive girls and get one of their numbers. And then as you keep progressively overloading consistently, you'll keep getting better and better, higher and higher level in the skill. And that is how, after a good few months, maybe even years, but it shouldn't take that long, you get to a very proficient point in your communication skills journey where you can speak to anyone at any time, anywhere. But again, it all starts from the very small things, which work in starting that momentum, starting that snowball, which goes on and gets you the improvement that you want. Now, if you want to take your communication skills to the next level, and you want to do it extremely quickly and in a very simple way using a very simple method, you can check out the first link in the description. That is my course, which is where I have put all of the information that I've learned over the last 3.5 years that I've been studying and improving in this topic of communication skills and social skills. It's where you'll find the best information that I can offer, which will generally take your social life to the next level in the minimum time possible. If you found this video helpful, I think you'll find a lot of value in this video right here. Click on the subscribe button and do the work.